All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the LEC. We had best of threes, and the matchups were very one-sided. We predicted all of these, not because it was difficult, because it's quite easy. I think there is a very clear tier of teams. I did the tier list of my idea of the teams in the previous video and the previous conversation. But the main focus here is the upper side of the bracket is looking quite juicy and quite interesting. The way I would classify the top end, I guess we can talk about the matches. I really didn't think GX offered super much against KC. There's not much to say there, in my opinion. G2, I think they just showed up the draft, and I think just macro-wise, they are much sharper on the early timers. Fnatic is a dumpster fire. NAVI, conceptually, a very good awareness on Drakes, have good team play. Riot, a fantastic player. A lot of respect to Riot. I think that this is a team that has really has the makings of a project that is going to improve and get better over time, as you can see. And then MKOI versus Vitality. I thought MKOI would win this one. Obviously, game one, I understand that people are focused on the pause and all that jazz, but Vitality throwing leads is a part of the equation when you evaluate Vitality. They've done that many times in the split, and it's kind of a part of their moniker because they threw that lead that they had in game one multiple times. And when they don't get that lead, MKOI showed how much better they can be in the second game as they were. Vitality have very strong early games and they can get leads, but they don't hold on to them well. And MKOI capitalized on that, and then in the end had a very, very clean game there with the Caitlyn into the draft that Vitality presented. So now that we look at the matchups that we have, let's start with the losers bracket. GX versus Team Heretics. I think the main issue Team Heretics face now is that I think that their solo laners aren't super good. I think that the strength in this team lies in Ice and Stand and Shield. And keep in mind, Sid and Trace in playing the first split. I think for a first split, Team Heretics has done a great job. I think respect to them. I think they did a fantastic job. But I do think that the weakness of the solo lane begins to show. And I think there's only so much draft magic that you can get away with and create in order to be in circumstances where your bot lane and your jungle can drive the game. And I do think as teams that are more aware of this, and Team Heretics is in a position where they have a losing bot lane matchup, I don't think they have any way of transferring pressure. And I think that GX is going to beat them due to that, because I trusted Noah and Jun. They have really good matchup awareness, I think, GX, Noah and Jun. And I think that Isma, Noah and Jun can contest them where Team Heretics have their strengths. And I think over time, GX have better individual players. So that's where I'm at right now. But I do think that Team Heretics, GX isn't like super strong. So there is some upset potential here, but I do think that GX is definitely favored. Fnatic versus Vitality, I think is very predictable too. Vitality, I favor them, even with the risk that they have of throwing later on in the game. I don't think that Fnatic is that good at catching. I think Fnatic is completely in disarray right now, and I have no faith in them. I think that, zero confidence coming out from the interviews in terms of where the level is at. I think that they look really like they lack confidence completely. Maybe if they get like a Vi Kaiser draft, maybe they can cook something up. But I do think also Lospa is not laning good enough for them to play a game that Upset likes playing. So it just I don't see what the avenue of success is for Fnatic. They don't have any form of identity. I don't think, when I try to think what is Fnatic good at, I can't think of anything. Early lane phase, tough. Scaling, tough. Decision making around fights, tough. Side laning, tough. I think Vitality just has way more strengths, and I think that Vitality would just run away with the games from the early game. I think Fnatic's season for winter is already doomed, cut, dry, done. I don't know how they're going to recover this moving forward. The weird thing is, I feel like Fnatic, they need Bwipo in their team. I think if Bwipo was on this team, I think it would add a layer of leadership in the game, and I think it would really help Razork to play the game. It's like that's where I'm at, anyhow, Vitality, I think, is a very fun and interesting team. I already covered them. Let's get to the meat and bones. KC versus G2, Navi versus MKOI. KC versus G2, let's start there. I think that KC, straight up, have the best individual players right now. And I think that's what has given them the biggest advantage in the league. Most people favor them to win the whole split, and I can understand that angle. I think that it's kind of open in the air with these 4 teams, where I think that KC, MKOI, G2, NAVI, these are the 4 teams that have potential to win, but KC being the front runner makes sense due to the regular split they have. I think that individually, this is the most stacked team. 100%. The most stacked team individually. How they team fight, how they play, how they click. This team is the best in Europe. By far. Very similar to how KC were in winter last year. They were just clicking so damn good. Whether it was team fight execution, when it was, lane phase as well. The fact that you have Kana on the team and with the season that isolated laning is super important. I think that's a massive buff for Kana. My man is named Dong because he gives them the Dong. Straight up. Kana is an absolute machine, and I think that he is going to be the biggest issue here for G2. I think that KC is going to blast G2. I think this matchup is very bad for G2 in my opinion. I think that G2, macro-wise, conceptually, and this is true for MKOI too, I think that they are doing more high-level shit together. They're doing more high-level shit together in terms of the macro, how they set up plays, how they set up drakes. But the thing is, to qualify into the game against KC, to be able to exude that, it requires a lot. And I do think that in the long run, G2 and MKOI might become better than KC, but KC is right now swinging and leveraging how good they are individually in a very, very strong way. I think that Kiahu has shown that he's a strong laner. I think Kalista has played really good this split. Busio has had great games. He's had bad games. And Yike has been a top jungler, in my opinion. I think that the biggest problem here is Broken Blade versus Kana. Broken Blade has struggled on G2 this year here on this team with how they set up his pick. He's been blind picking tanks and so forth. They tried to piece it together, and I think it's been kind of rough. I think that G2 also struggled in trying to figure out what Hans Sama needs to play, what Labrov needs to play. The only thing that really stood out as consistent was Caps' level. Caps has been very good, and I think Skumond has been very good too. But I think that Hans Sama, Labrov, Broken Blade, a lot of their issues can be solved by them just figuring out how they want to draft. But I think it's far more likely that Hans Sama and Labrov figure out that problem than Broken Blade currently, because those weaknesses of Broken Blade is something we've seen in the past. Like, I don't expect them to master Rumble or so forth, but the fact that Ornn is making appearances globally could be a very positive thing for Broken Blade. It is the best of 3 after all, and if he gets a good Ornn spot, good Sion spot, and a good K'Sante spot, maybe that's all G2 need to kind of push it over the finish line, because I do think that Caps and Skumond as a 2v2 mid duo could carry games. I think the biggest issue is Kana. I favor KC in the matchup, but I don't think that we should discount G2 completely. Just because I think a lot of their problems are solved in how they draft. And I think as long as Hans Sama gets good Xayah Rakan spots, maybe gets good Ezreal spots, he gets good Kaiser spots, then suddenly everything kind of falls into place. I think if G2 come into the game with a good draft, I think their macro sense and how they play together with mid, jungle, and support is going to be a very important factor. Because I think on that department, KC is weaker than G2 and MKOI. I think KC find their strength in their team fight, execution, and their individual lane phases. But if G2 manage to qualify through draft, I think that G2 have better macro. But I favor KC like 55-45 is where I'm at currently. Navi versus MKOI. I favor MKOI. My gut feeling has been that MKOI is going to win the split. It's just a gut feeling. I think that the easy prediction to make is KC based on what you've seen. My gut feeling in regards to MKOI is that I really, really like how they play with support jungle. How they take over the map in mid-game, how they take over the map in early game. I think it's extremely high level. Extremely high level. And I think that, I think also that MKOI, in terms of how they played the bot lane phase, the fact that they have the Caitlyn in the pocket, the fact that they have the Kokinami in the pocket, they have the Nico in the pocket, they have the Lulu in the pocket, the Yunara. I think duo Q has been insanely healthy for MKOI. And the last time we saw MKOI versus Navi, I think Navi made the mistake of picking Kate instead of Kaiser into Kokinami. I think that Navi has done such a fantastic job. By far, easy Navi, coach of the split. Like, Navi has done such a great job of putting this project to the level that it is at with what they have. But I do think that the Navi structure to draft is something that you can attack. You need to challenge the jungle flex pool because this puts Mainter in positions where he can pick tanks top in very good matchups. As you can see, the Navi draft structure is very specific in terms of how they set things up. And if you fall into that, they are pretty damn fucking good. It's always the Aatrox or Ambessa or Zahin flex into pick a tank in a good spot / matchup. And I think these are the spots where you need to target, ban, and disrupt their structure. Because Navi want a tank top, carry jungler that comes off of a flex, and then they want a playmaker on mid and support. So that's like the big angle, you know? And I think this is something that you can challenge against Navi. Really respect Navi for figuring out their identity and having like a draft structure from the get-go. The main question is, how deep does it go if a team has room to actually send bans into some... Like, let's say here, Fnatic are banning ADCs. They're banning Varus Yanara. For Varus Yanara, they're banning. I think here, you know, these are bans that MKOI doesn't need to do. But I do think that Navi, as a team, their game identity in terms of pursuing objectives and what they are paying attention to, I do think that Navi is an extremely successful project. Really, really well done. I don't think they have enough Dark Horse energy to be freaky enough. I think Vitality is more likely to upset a team better than them than Navi, because Navi is very standard in the best way possible. And I think if there's any curveballs Navi can do is Parus. If Parus has counterpick and he can cook, you know, like a blitzcrank angle, or he has the confidence to slam a pike and he can take over the game through bot lane and they can win the matchup through bot lane, then I think they can find successes. Because MKOI's biggest downfall right now is in the mid to late game. While their jungle and support take over the map beautifully, there are many moments where Super gets caught or like Jojo gets caught. And I think if you have pressure on the mid wave and you have control through bot lane, you stifle Alvaro a little bit, and then Jojo is not the type of player to let up and to, of course, give up presence and give up space. So I'm going to lean MKOI here. So to summarize, KC win, MKOI win, GX win, Vitality win, Fnatic and Team Heretics eliminated. Would have been fun to see Fnatic versus Team Heretics. That would have been really, really fun. But some cool, exciting matchups coming up for LEC. Only 2 more weeks left of LEC. Obviously, we don't co-stream those. We play World of Warcraft. That's life. That's life.